Okay, we're continuing chapter 14, conditional sentences, by looking at a couple of examples right here. Έλεγε αυτός ο Ιησούς, έτεκνα του Αβραάμ, εστέ τα έργα του Αβραάμ poiete. It's an adapted version of John 8:39. So looking at that sentence, we go through our procedure, and Stevens guides us through the steps. First of all, looking at the apodoses, we ask ourselves the question, what is the if verb? So in this case, looking at that sentence, following έλεγε αυτός ο Ιησούς, starting with if, what is the verb? And the verb here is eστέ, from Amy, right? So eστé is the if verb. You were children of Abraham, teknas in the plural, right? If you were children of Abraham, then we ask the question, what is the if verb mood? Now, officially, we haven't really studied anything outside of the indicative, but we're still gonna ask that question so we get in a good practice there. So we're considering it the indicative, okay? So the next question would be then, flowing from that, is this a determined or undetermined action? And in the previous video, we looked at these flow charts, and we knew that whenever we have the if verb in the indicative, that means that the logic is determined. This is a matter of logic. This is determined logic. It will always be true or false. We know the outcome. So next rests us to determine if it's true or false. What is the assumption? Well, how do we know that? Well, we know that by looking at how the next clause works out. What is the apodosis? Ta erga to Abraham poiete. So that comes from poeo. I make, I do, I practice, but it doesn't say poeo, right? There's a building block at the beginning. It has an augment. And we know that when we see an augment, that we have past tense. We also see that this is a contraction, it's a contract verb. Poeo has the short epsilon, and so when we add the ending ete, we get an interaction there between another epsilon, and so we get the elongated diphthong, epsilon iota. So that's ete, oase, ome, ete, usi. But that's not really the case here, right? We are actually looking here at a secondary ending that almost disguises itself as a primary ending, but you will never fall for that trap because you, right off the bat, recognized the augment. This then, in fact, is an imperfect. And whenever we see an imperfect, we are alerted to the fact that this has the assumption of being false. This is a second-class conditional sentence. So you will fill in false. Second-class conditional sentence will be your assumption. So the time here for this clause is in the now, is presumed to be fulfilled. If it was a different kind of past tense, like an aorist or the really rare one, the pluperfect, then you would use more of a sense of then. So now we can translate it. Jesus said to them, if you were children of Abraham, you would do the works of Abraham. But the statement is false, right? The condition of the logic is determined. And the condition of the logic says, that's false. You were not children of Abraham. So, you're not doing the works of Abraham in your face, folks. Okay? So, next, right here. Elegentos mathetais autou ha Jesus, eectou cosmo ete, ha cosmos, anto idion egapet. Egapa. John 15:19. So, the if verb here, ete, the indicative verb mood is being used here, so it makes it determined. The assumption is false. Why? Well, the verb, you gotta find it all the way in the past, right? There's your subject nominative, untranslated particle, then direct object. Agapa from gapo. So it is actually then it's an imperfect, right? Yep. So we have an imperfect, and so it's in the now. It's another second class conditional sentence. In other words, we can translate it now as Jesus said to his disciples, if you were out of this world, the world would love its own. So, but that is kind of playing devil's advocate. That's kind of the kind of logic here that's determined but false. In other words, you're not of this world, so the world does not love you. Whew, good thing, right? Okay, so there you go.